So, there's a new digital divide that I've identified. And it's not a divide between people who can afford technology and can't, like we've been arguing for 30 years about. But it's a divide between people who are all in, like me, and people who are all out, like Richard Stallman. He wears a button saying, pay cash for everything and don't use Facebook. And there's lots of people in the middle. I was running late and I was trying to get a hold of Pima. And she didn't have her email on her signature. She didn't have her email on her Facebook. She doesn't use Messenger. So I couldn't see if she had even received any of the messages I was spraying to her all over the place. And I couldn't use new modern age tools like Glimpse to show her where I was in the world and that I was coming, right? So I just had dinner with an exec at Uber last night, and we talked about this. We in Silicon Valley are often pushing way, way, way ahead of people, and that's causing distortions that are interesting to talk about. But the book is about this new mobile world that we're heading into, and we're getting there really quickly. Even since the book was published, Facebook has started turning contextual, and we'll talk about what contextual means. But what I noticed about 2 years ago was there's a new kind of software that's possible, and that's quickly arriving. You know, the software that was built by Bill Gates and Steve Jobs for these things really didn't have any clue that they were going to be moved around, right? These computers are going to sit on your desk for the most part, and you're not going to carry them in your pocket. You're not going to go running with them. You're not going to do all sorts of sensor kind of stuff, right? The new contextual world is mixing mobile, sensors, and a few other things. So let's just jump through what the 5 forces I was seeing. The number of sensors on us, around us, and in our world are going up exponentially. Since I published the book, I have 3 new sensors in my house, 2 Nest products. One's a thermostat, one's a smoke detector, and I have a new drop cam. So Google knows via 3 sensors whether I'm home or not, you know? And it's just the start. And we're going to soon be wearing lots of sensors on us. We're going to have sensors in our world, and these sensors are getting really interesting very quickly. The amount of wearables on us is going up exponentially. This is the Basis watch. The Basis watch, if you guys know that you're in Silicon Valley, but it has a heart rate sensor and a skin temperature sensor and an accelerometer. This guy runs Recon Instruments. I just talked to him last week in Whistler, where he developed his ski goggles. But inside the ski goggles, a little compute package with a screen, with sensors, and with a little bit of compute and a battery. So you can see on the mountain how fast you're going, where on the mountain you are, how long your hang time for your last jump was, right? Mm-hmm. Which, if I have anything on that sensor, it wasn't on purpose, but it gives you a sense. We're going to have on-the-face wearables, but not this year, unless you're doing it for vertical markets. Google Glass is actually doing quite well in the vertical markets for surgeons and stuff like that. But you're going to meet a lot of resistance in the consumer market. But it is coming, and in 5 to 10 years, we're going to look back at the Google Glass as being just as big as this computer is compared to my iPhone, right? The computers are getting smaller, the cameras are getting smaller, the LEDs are getting smaller, the screens are getting smaller. In fact, I saw a screen from Copen that's half the height of the Google Glass one and sharper and brighter. So we're seeing over time compute is shrinking and is touching our skin and is going to be worn. The amount of data about location is going up exponentially. Facebook check-ins, I'm noticing they get better every couple of weeks. They're adding more features to the check-in, they're adding more data on the check-in, and they have much more context about the place we are in, right? And so does Foursquare, so does Google Maps, so do all the mapping companies like Telenav and Nokia's mapping companies. And Apple's mapping company. I mean, the amount of data about where we are is going up exponentially, and we'll talk about some of the ways that it's going up even more. The amount of social data continues going up exponentially. Today, Twitter's seeing 500 million tweets, and that number's going, in a year, it'll be 1 billion tweets a day. And whenever you see an exponential number, you guys know this, you're going to see businesses built on top of it, because when there's an exponentially growing thing, you can build a business that also goes exponential. And the amount of data, and data is hard to talk about because there's so many innovations happening all at the same time. We call it big data, right? But the data center is changing. It used to be the data center had spinning hard drives. Today, those hard drives are going away, and the data systems are sucking data off of memory chips, and they're seeing 1,000 times more performance, and they can do much more parallelized type of things because you don't have to wait for that hard drive to spin around before you can grab some more data off of it. So we're seeing entire new companies that are just built on top of Twitter, like DataSift, right? DataSift lets us see the Twitter fire hose and do all sorts of fun things and part it out and build even new businesses on top of it. So these 5 forces all deserve a book of their own, and a few of them do have several books of their own. I mean, we wrote about social software 8 years ago in our first book. But what I noticed that was the key thinking behind this was that these 5 forces are joining together and being fused together to make a new kind of operating system possible, really. And it's not an operating system like OS X, it's an operating system that knows what you're doing. Like right now, our phones could be sensing we're in a meeting, and there's a lot of different ways that it could do that, right? It could look at your calendar. Everybody here has this on a calendar somewhere, right? It could be looking at the internet, right? This is on Facebook, right? This meeting. It could go out to internet. It could look at the density of people in this room, and it knows that this room is usually empty except for meetings, right? And it could make up lots of things. So what is this new world going to mean for us when we get there? And we're getting there pretty quickly now. Products are going to be highly personalized. So the ski goggles, if you put on my ski goggles, you see my data. You don't see your data, because it's very personalized to me. And when we went to Oakley and talked about the future sunglasses, hold on a second, and things like that, they said, oh yeah, we're going to, as compute comes along that lets us build fashionable products, we're going to be able to personalize these things to your eyes, to your conditions, to the people you're with, in new ways. Even changing the materials as you ski, for instance, because if you're skiing from a foggy summit down to a bright sunny slope, you need the glasses to change its ability to filter out different kinds of wavelengths of light so you can see better. So let's talk about this new company called Tapingo. Some people call it Tap and Go. How many people have heard of this company? Just to give you an idea. Yeah, you haven't heard of it because it's only for college kids right now. And I know another company that started that way, and it did pretty well. Right? And this company is doing pretty well already. They just got $8 million from Vinod Khosla. What it is an app for your phone. And you buy if you're a college kid, you buy everything on this app. Right now, I think 75 schools are getting it in the next week or so, something like that. 25 had it last year, and Santa Clara University is one of them. Already 70% of all transactions at Santa Clara University go through this thing. So it's a pretty interesting idea. So what does it do? You buy everything. You buy your sandwich on it, you buy your books on it, you buy your t-shirt on it, you get your clothes cleaned on it, you do everything on this app. And in every business around campus is a box. So the box lights up, beeps, and spits out a receipt. So if I buy a nice latte, because it's 9 o'clock and I am on my way to class, and I want a nice latte like I usually do, I say iced latte. After a week, it starts recognizing that every morning at 9 in the morning, I'm buying a nice latte. So it just says, would you like your normal iced latte after a week? Because it knows your pattern. It came out of Israeli surveillance. In fact, the guy told me, when you're in surveillance, you know that everybody has a common pattern, and you're looking for things that are out of pattern, right? If I buy 400 pounds of fertilizer and 80 gallons of diesel fuel, the system will come and visit me, right? But the farmer across the street, and I live in Half Moon Bay, the farmer across the street, that's his standard thing. He buys gas for his tractor, and he buys fertilizer for his field. So I actually spoke to the surveillance guys and go, yeah, we watch them too. We watch the nitrate levels in their soil to know that they're spreading the fertilizer and using the fertilizer. If the nitrates in the soil don't go up for a couple of years, we know that guy's storing his fertilizer and he might be worthy of a visit. He's out of pattern. So this kid who started this company says, I don't care if you're out of pattern. And that's the NSA's job. My job is to look for it in your pattern. I want to figure out where you go to school, where you go to church, what sandwich you buy every day for lunch. Where are the common places you go? And it sounds a lot like Facebook, right? Facebook's starting to do this. It's pretty crazy. So yeah, 70% of all sales are already going through this. And it's a virus. It's growing just like Facebook. In 6 years, we're all going to have it on our phones. And we will have some choices. Starbucks is trying to do this, but Starbucks has a problem. Their competitors don't want to put the box in the store. They even have they're figuring out if you spit too many orders out at 9 in the morning at the Starbucks, you'll overload the staff. So they put you in a virtual queue, and they'll tell you when your iced latte will be ready to pick up. By the way, you pick it up. You don't hand them a credit card. You don't say hi. You don't even hand them any cash. You just pick it up and leave. They know you're there. Your phone's there, right? And that Apple just this morning was rumored to be adding new payment systems. Apple cares about this a lot. I wouldn't be surprised if Apple did this themselves or just bought this company and spread it worldwide. Scully helmets, does the same thing. It also means for humans. So the first thing was it's building personalized systems, but the second thing is we're getting new kinds of anticipatory services and products. Things that anticipate where we're going to be next and tell us stuff to do and even try to assist our lives. Google Now is the most famous example of this. Tempo AI, that's why I know she didn't have a phone number anymore, because I was using Tempo to try to find her phone number and I couldn't find her phone number. So this thing goes into your email, in your calendar, out on the internet, and tries to find information to help you with your meetings. And it does pretty good. One day I just put the word Flipboard on my Google Calendar, and this thing told me the new address. And they had just moved 2 weeks before. And it found all the email that Mike McHugh and I had back and forth and put it there. So when I clicked on that meeting, it had everything, right? And they're trying to get ahead. And there's human, that if I add you today on human, it'll remember where I met you. So 3 years from now when we're partying at South by Southwest or something like that, it'll tell you, oh, you met Doreen at Procopia at this thing, right? At this NoPanels conference. And I'll go, oh yeah. And it'll probably be even on my glass, right? It's like, hey, I remember you. There's two impacts on businesses that I'm seeing. One, we're going to see everything about everything, or we're being asked to. Union Pacific, for instance, is putting sensors underneath all the rails. They're seeing 40 million hits a day off of those sensors. The sensors are listening to the cars going overhead for, do these cars need maintenance and other things, and they're watching the traffic flows and making sure the trains are all in the place they're supposed to be, because if they're not, if then else crash, right? GE's doing the same thing with sensors on turbo engines. Uber, I'm talking to my friend Dan, and he's working closely with Travis at Uber. They have really ambitious plans, and they know everything about everything. They know why you're in the city, because you were just at a Giants game. They're looking at all sorts of things to try to predict where the inventory is needed, so they can move inventory where it's needed and not have too many cars around. Because if there's too many cars, it's wasted inventory. It's inefficient, right? So their goal is every time you open Uber, there's one car right next to you. And if they can figure out when you need a car and where you're going to need a car, they're going to be more efficient than if they don't know that. They're also, Uber's an interesting example. At Rackspace and when I worked at Microsoft and Fast Company, I was rated every 6 months. So I'd have to wait 6 months to hear feedback on what I was doing. Uber, you're rated every ride, right? So if you start being a jerk to people, you're going to get fired within 2 days, right? Because 3, 4 one-star reviews in 2 days, you're at least going to have a call and go, what the hell is going on? You're pissing off our customers, right? And by the way, they're rating each of us. You didn't know that, did you? So if you get sick at South by Southwest because you drank too much vodka or something, and you destroy the car, and he has to clean out the car, he's going to give you a 1-star rating, right? And then if there's a competition for riders to pick up, they ain't going to pick you up. So you're going to be waiting a few hours, right? So you're going to be nice to the Uber driver too. The Uber driver has a lot of incentive to be nice to you, and you have a lot of incentive to be nice to them. There's a new trust economy here. That's Shel Israel is writing a new book called On Trust Economies. The other thing that we're seeing for businesses is we're being asked to have deep insights into our customer. It's funny. This is the first speech I've actually had here in my slide deck in the audience. But we were at a concert, and who was that? Paloma Faith.
Paloma, yeah.
Yeah. So Paloma Faith is a new. She played her first concert, and Chris and his wife and I were there. Christy liked Paloma Faith on Facebook, and all of a sudden she has systems to integrate and know more about her audience. So when she's giving a concert, she can have interactive panels, interactive screens that know something about the audience, and we're going to be asked to know a lot more about our customers very quickly. I had dinner with the exec team at Ritz-Carlton, the overall Ritz-Carlton. I said, you guys are screwed. That's how I start my conversations with people. And he's like, why? He goes, because you have no idea about me anymore. And I know you don't know anything about me, because when I tweet, if Chris and I are out on the back deck tweeting, we're having a great time at the Ritz, they do have a social media listening team. They get back to you in a minute or two. So that's an improvement over 8 years ago, right? 8 years ago, nobody got back to us. Nobody was watching the brands. And some companies still don't care, like United Airlines. But they do have a listening team. The problem is United Airlines even is worse, right? Because they don't care on one hand, and they turn tone deaf. The Ritz does care. They want you to have a good time, because you're paying $600 a room night, right? And they want you to have a great time, and they want you to tell your friends, come to the Ritz, because that means more business. But they don't know. They have 4 computers that run the Ritz, right? They have OpenTable that runs the main restaurant. They have Spa Finder computer that runs the spa. They have I think it's an IBM system that runs the main hotel, and then they have an iPad that runs their so-called cheap restaurant, which Diet Coke is $6, so it's not that cheap. But you're tweeting, and Chris and I are having a great time, having whatever margaritas or whatever, and they go, oh, glad you're here. But if we continue the conversation, they turn tone deaf. They don't know my lifetime value to the company. They don't know where I'm sitting. They don't know who I'm sitting with. They don't know all sorts of things. And they don't know how to recommend something really at a high level. It's funny, when I told the Ritz team this, and they told me, they asked me, do you know how the Ritz started? And I go, yeah, you had a hotel in New York. Yeah, in the middle of the hotel was a room where they had index cards on every customer, and they would stalk you. They would go through your trash to find, do you like apples or candy bars, and what kind of candy bar, right? And then the next time you visit the Ritz, they would have an apple on your pillow or a candy bar. And it's like, how did that happen? Oh, that's weird. How did they know that? Right? And they do some of this. Their main computer system, if you check into the hotel, does track your preferences, and they can put data in there about who your kids are, and that one of them has an allergy to walnuts or something like that. But their overall system is not joined together, and they're tone deaf. But that's about to change in a big way in 5 years. And we call this pinpoint marketing, right? So this guy, it's hard to see, but this guy, I saw this at a CES almost 2 years ago. And it's a PrimeSense 3D sensor, which Apple now owns. And Apple bought the company since the book came out. This 3D sensor is so sensitive that it came from Israel that if I had a sensor here with a projector on this desk, and they did a demo for me, I could write on the desk and it was pressure sensitive. It could tell how hard I was pressing this surface. So think about how granular that sensor is. It's just amazing sensor. There's a similar sensor in the Xbox Connect that is so sensitive to color that it can see your heartbeat from across the room. I can't see your heartbeat with my eyes, right? But that sensor can see your heartbeat because your color is changing with your heartbeat. And it's amazing. So this thing is over your head at a Walmart down in Brazil. It's Shop Perceptions, the company that made the system. Right now it's being used just for analytics and understanding dwell times and flow patterns in stores. Anheuser-Busch is paying for this, so these guys want to understand, how do I make our beer more attractive to you in the store so you buy more, right? But this is so sensitive that it sees your hand going toward a box of Cheerios. It sees you touch the box of Cheerios. It sees you pull the box of Cheerios off, and it sees you put the box of Cheerios in your basket. And they had an iPad next to it, and it started changing its behavior based on where your hand was. So it would say, you just bought a box of Cheerios. If you bought 3, you'd get 10 loyalty points, or whatever, or save 10%, or whatever the deal would be. Or, hey, we have a new brand. Would you like to try the new brand? We'll give it to you for $1. So put the, try this new brand, right? So Procter & Gamble would love that, So that's 3D sensors, and it's coming. This thing is ShelfBucks. It won Demo God of the Year last year. It has 9 radios in it, and you're going to have an app on your phone, and you're going to tap into ShelfBucks with an app. And it's going to tell you all about the display you're at. So if you're in the cookie aisle and you tap your phone in, it'll say, hey, you can have $1 off of Oreo cookies right now if you buy. Or if you buy 3 packs of something, you'll get 10 loyalty points or something like that, right? And coupons, instant coupons in the context of where you are. And it could even tell you stuff, and it could react to your intentions, right? My intention is to lose another 20 pounds, so it could say, get out of this aisle. Why are you even here? We'll give you 10 loyalty points to leave the aisle and go over to the healthy snacks aisle, right? Or if you're gonna buy cookies, don't buy the Oreos. They're not really good for you. Buy the oatmeal ones, something like that, right? It could even change that way. Now the marketers at first won't do that, but we can dream about how they would use it for good and not for evil, but they'll probably go for the evil first, because we're capitalist pigs in Silicon Valley, but it's possible. This thing actually has 9 radios, so it can actually see your phone walking by it. You don't have to tap to it. Not a modern phone, iPhone, by the way, we'll talk about that in a second. A modern phone, it can see you walking by it, and so if there's 20 of them in the store, it can actually tell where you are walking through the store. Have you visited the cookie aisle? If you haven't, well, hey, we can ask you to visit the cookie aisle. You get 10 loyalty points just for visiting the cookie aisle, right? Because if we know, I used to work in retail, right? My boss had a saying, nobody comes through the front door not to buy, right? So if I can get you to change where you walk, I can maybe increase my sales 10%, right, of that aisle. What else is here? Bintank, this is a company up in the wine country. He's tracking everything somebody says in public about wine. So right now he's seeing 1.1 million tweets a day about wine. And the second you say, I'm drinking Camus with Chris Hewer on Twitter, you have a profile built on you. And it starts watching your behaviors around wine. And just that one tweet marks us both as people who can afford a $200 bottle of wine, right? And if we're at Camus, that means we probably are interested in nicer wines. We're not at Sutter Home, right? If we said we're having a baller time at Sutter Home, that would mark us as a $10 bottle of wine drinker and a different kind of person. So let's say I own Paradox, right? And Chris comes into my place, and all of a sudden my Google Glass or my watch or something said, hey, this guy just visited Camus and he just bought a case of wine, and here's his tweet, and here's his profile. And here's all the wine tweets he's ever made, and all the wine Foursquare things, and all the wine Facebook things he's ever put. Oh, you just were at Camus. You say you like cabs on Twitter, and you're like, oh, that's a little freaky. But I have a great cab for you, Mr. Hewer, right? And I'm going to take him right to the reserve room to maximize my profit. Now, if he visits Sutter Home and he says, I love Sutter Home, I'm not going to take him to the reserve room because I'm not going to increase my sales there. He's going to go, I can't afford a $200 bottle of wine. I'd like to drink it though. You know, and so I'm going to take him to my $10, $30 bottle of wine collection. And I'm going to give him a good time, and we're going to maximize profit on it too. So let's talk about some of these new technologies that are going to let us track each other. These things came out like the week after the book came out. So these are low energy Bluetooth smart beacons. They used to be called BLE beacons. Most of us call them iBeacons because Apple's marketing is so good and Bluetooth's marketing sucks. But they're really Bluetooth beacons. These things are cost less than $10. They spray 3 numbers into the air every second. The Sacramento Kings already has 35 of them in the stadium. So if you walk in with your new Apple iWatch, it's going to start doing stuff for you. If you have the Sacramento Kings app on your phone or on your watch. It can tell you're up to 100 meters away. It'll start seeing the radio pinging, the beacons. They last about 2 years on a coin battery. The ones at Sacramento King are from Qualcomm, and they have bigger batteries so they can last even longer, which means they can turn up the ping rate. All right. If you have estimates, they're 1 second. The ones at Qualcomm are a quarter second. So they get more accurate. What else do they do? How many people have one of these on them? I think I have one. Do you have one? Anybody? You don't have any Bluetooth? You don't have a thing like this that tracks your keys yet? Tile is a good example, right? These companies are, so if my kids hide my keys, I pull out an app and I can see, oh yeah, my keys are over there. I know where they are. You guys, how many people have iPhones? Yeah, you're already carrying one and you didn't even know it. That's what iBeacon's all about. Android can read the beacon but can't transmit the beacon yet. Apple, if you have iOS 7, it already can transmit the beacon, and coming soon, they will start using it. Apple is paying for beacons to be put in baseball stadiums and other places. Apple stores for sure. I know Macy's is putting them in. Most of the retail stores are highly interested in this kind of technology and other technologies to understand where you are plus or minus a meter. I just talked to a company that says we don't need beacons. I can actually tell you're right there by the Earth's magnetic field. And a sensor on your phone can easily do that. I'm like, whoa. Broadcom, that guy here is the CEO of Broadcom. At CES this year, he showed off a new system that requires a software change to the Wi-Fi routers in the room, and he can tell plus or minus 3 meters where you are, just by using Wi-Fi. That's it. New Air, the Dave Matthews company, I had lunch with him in New York, and he goes, look at how many things are spraying radio into the air. And he pulled out his phone, and his system looks for all Wi-Fi, all cell tower, all anything that's beacony, or even that, right? It's spraying a ping over to the cell tower because that's how it has to work, right? You won't get calls if it doesn't know where that phone is, right? So you have 3 towers that are talking on that phone right now, and if I have a system that lets me look at your pings, I know where you are, right? So this is a rapidly evolving field. The retailers are really into this, but so are museums, sporting events. They want to do paperless ticket. So you're going to walk into the front door of the new 49er Stadium if they put the system in place with your watch. Your watch is going to say, welcome to the Levi Stadium or to the new. I know they're going to do this at Sacramento Kings because Qualcomm owns it. And they told me what they're doing. But you're going to walk in with your watch and it's going to say, welcome to Sacramento Kings. We're playing the Seattle whatever. And come on in, your seats are to the left. Because it knows where your seats are, it knows where you are. And the display on their side says, yeah, that's Robert Scoble, and he does have the authentication and the credentials for that ticket. He can walk them in. Give them some nice customer service. Nobody has to be looking for their ticket or forgetting their tickets. So that's a lot to discuss. We can talk about cars and how they're turning into APIs. You know, my friend Andy has a Chevy Volt. It collects already, I think, 100 megabytes a second of data. Most of it's thrown away because it's for airbag sensors and fuel economy, fuel injector sensors and stuff like that. But a little bit of it's kept around. And the car is now an API. So he has an iPhone app that can do things, including find his car and tell him how much gas is in the car. My friend wrote a Google Glass app for his dad's Tesla. He can say, where is my Tesla? And it tells him how much energy is in the batteries, 20%. I can't go very far. And if you're sitting in the car, you can even tell it, open the moonroof, and the moonroof opens, right? Because the car is an API that you can build software that talks to the car. We see startups like Automatic that has a little box that plugs in under my car, right? And would add some of these features and tell me all sorts of stuff about my driving behaviors and all sorts of stuff. The new Tesla, did anybody catch the New York Times, Elon Musk versus New York Times? So New York Times a couple of years ago did a review where they were driving, I think, from New York to Boston, and the guy wrote a bad review, and it had a picture of the car being towed because he ran out of energy. And he said, you know, it's not good enough. It can't get all the way to Boston. Most people won't buy it. And Elon Musk is like, oh, really? And he had chart after chart of what the guy had been doing. He knew that the car was doing donuts in the parking lot. He knew that the guy had turned up the heat all the way to 100%. He knew, you know, on and on. And it's like, whoa, this car is a collector of data which can be used for things, good and bad, evil and good. And Tesla, he didn't know because he was a reviewer. Tesla turned on the data collection capabilities of the car. When you buy a Tesla, you have a choice. You can say, please report all the data, don't. I visited Mercedes R&D recently. They just announced a contextual car. And they're saying, you're gonna turn on the data because it's gonna make your life better. Because, OnStar, I just drove a Buick with OnStar, and it has a button, and you call them and say, I need help. What do you need? I need help getting to Procopia. I have no fucking idea where that is. And they're like, sure. It's at 1020 Marsh Road in Menlo Park. Does that sound right? Yeah. We're sending that to your car. And all of a sudden the map shows it, right? So there's systems that are helping us out. The Mercedes one is going to know, are your kids in the car, because they're going to have a sensor on the seats and on the faces of the kids. They can already another company has a software that uses a standard cheapo webcam. Any webcam would work, any of the ones in your phones. And if you walk by it, it tells you age plus or minus 5 years, and it's quite accurate. Gender, and a few other things. Sentiment, are you happy, sad? Right? A lot of stuff. And he said within a year we're going to have more contexts just off of a standard webcam. So you're going to walk by some sign in advertising or sit in a car, and it's going to go, hey, you're not having a good time. What would help you have a good time? Should I play Skrillex for you? Would that help you have a good time? And if you say, I need pizza, if an executive is in the car with you, that means something different than if the kids are in the car with you. And Waze is doing this, right? Waze on the way here was routing me through the city traffic. I was like, what's it doing? I should just be on Highway 101. No, it was routing me around traffic. It knows my context, it starts assisting me, and starts doing fun stuff. So cars are about to radically change. Health is health monitoring is going to radically change for the next 5 years. God knows what the Apple iWatch has. I assume the first one won't have that much, but this R&D lab over in Ireland was showing me new silicon-based needles, and when you put your finger on it, it feels like sandpaper, so it doesn't hurt. But the needle gets deep enough to pull a few cells of blood out and test it for things, and or put some medicine back in your finger. And the old needle that diabetics use is right there. The new needles are the silicon-based little hills. Although if you're a diabetic, you're going to like these new needles a lot better than pricking your finger and having to put your blood on a sensor, right? We're going to have pills soon that you swallow that study your insides and have sensors and cameras. They had cameras that were 1 millimeter by 1 millimeter that surgeons use to stick in your heart to see their way around when they're trying to save your life, that kind of thing. These are little radiation sensors that they stick around cancer cells so they know exactly where to target the radiation and know that they're not hitting healthy cells. These are tattoos that we're going to soon wear that have a Bluetooth radio and a sensor in them that tell your phone something about it, about your health. SRI was when I visited SRI, they asked me to read a card with 200 words on it. Everybody reads the same card, and it can tell within 70% that you're suicidal already. So imagine you're wearing Google Glass, and it's like, hey, you sound a little depressed today. Would you like to go to a therapist? They're building that system for the military because the people who come back with PSTD are committing suicide at a high rate, and so they need to know who to give extra resources to and really focus on. They also have another sensor that can tell whether you have pancreatic cancer in a drop of blood. And on and on. This is going to be a radically evolving field for years, decades.
You said that was a tattoo?
Yeah, it's just going to be something you wear on your skin, you know. And even Band-Aids, right? Johnson & Johnson has Band-Aids that are just regular Band-Aids with a pattern on them, and you put your phone on the Band-Aid and it starts playing a song. So your kids are all like, oh, look at this, my injury is feeling better all of a sudden because I get to see a cartoon on my arm because I'm wearing this special Band-Aid. I mean, that's just a little bit early, but imagine in 5 years. Park, for instance, has a machine that sprays circuitry on anything. 50 transistors and a little radio on anything for cents out of an inkjet printer. So imagine you have a cast, and they can, and there's a little radio and a sensor on there, it's on and on. It's crazy. It's crazy stuff's going to happen in the next decade. Because our mobile phones are here, we are changing our belief about where it's good to live. I've lived in Silicon Valley ever since '71, and my dad never wanted to live in downtown San Jose. That was always where the high crime was, the poor services, there was never a good grocery store there was never good schools, blah, blah, blah. Now, I live in Half Moon Bay. I can't get Uber, I can't get Instacart, I can't get eBay now, I can't get all this new stuff. Now, in my office in San Francisco, I can have a salad delivered to me in 20 minutes from the company. What is the company that does salads? I'll figure it out in a second. But I can have a salad delivered to me. I can have, if I forget my Apple power supply or leave this stupid dongle here, like I do all the time, I can have a new one delivered to me in an hour from eBay now. Instacart delivers groceries to us, on and on and on. And there's more and more services for a high urban density neighborhood because it's efficient. I can actually make a business out of delivering salads to people, off their mobile phone. I forget what the salad app is. Anyways, I'll figure it out. Dining.
No, I actually want to know.
Sprig.
Sprig.
And it's a baller salad for $10.
Yeah.
It's a baller salad for $10. And it takes 20 minutes. I ordered one the other day. 20 minutes and it's there. So the kids today are like, I don't want to live in Half Moon Bay. I can't get anything there. I can't get dates. Somebody told me that last night. I can't get dates. That's why I moved to San Francisco. It's cheaper in Sebastopol to live, but I can't get dates. I can't get Instacarts. I can't get Uber rides to home, so I can't get drunk at night. On and on and on. I don't know why I put this slide in there. Just the sensors and the cost of mobile. The mobile industry is driving so much stuff that soon we're going to have fun new entertainment devices. And the Oculus is actually too expensive. I have a friend who's building a foam thing for your iPhone that'll slide in, and all of a sudden you have Oculus Rift style, look around and you're in the middle of a concert, right? Lots of fun stuff coming. We can talk about that. And by this point, I ask my usual audience how freaked out you are. And usually that's where I point out the digital divide. in my common audience, at least 30% of the hands go up and say, I'm freaked out by this. And so am I at some level. But I'm quickly getting over my freaked outness, and here's why. I use TripIt. Now, if you think about TripIt, TripIt has access to my Gmail. So if we were having this meeting 15 years ago, and somebody, some visionary said, you know, in the future, you're going to let all these companies have access to your email, I would be like, no, I'm not. I'd be very freaked out. I'm on this side of the freaky line. Well, today I have at least 10 things that have access to my Gmail. And it trolls through my Gmail for things, for patterns, and in TripIt's case, it's looking for airline tickets, hotel rooms, travel discussions, right? And it pulls those over and starts doing things for you. It also asked me for my credit card, and it asked me for my United frequent flyer number, and I think I even gave it access to United. So, and now I'm giving it access to other things because I'm not flying United if I can. So I'm sitting in a United jet out of Chicago. We were heading toward we were being pulled back by the tractor, and I'm watching my phone because I don't listen to the rules. And TripIt says, your plane's being canceled. And I'm like, that's interesting. Would you like another flight out of town? Yes. And I bought another ticket. 2 minutes later, the pilot comes on and says, I'm sorry, we can't get our engine started. Or one engine can't get started. We can't take off. And we don't have another flight tonight. We don't have another plane here to replace this. So, sorry, we're going back to the gate. You all have to talk to the customer service people. And it turned out there was 3 seats on that plane. And so I beat you all. If you're the all-out kind of people, I beat you all. And you all had to stay in Chicago, and I got out of town. And I'm having dozens of experiences like this every month. I have friends call me up and say, hey, would you like to go smoke some weed? Seriously, that just happened. I'm like, how did you know I'm here? And he goes, Facebook, dude. I'm looking at my close friends list, my nearby friends list, and you're right a block away. I'm like, yeah, I am an all-in guy, and yeah, that is sort of freaky, but I do like this offer. Right, so my life is getting better because I have a whole story about weed, by the way. I was sitting with some execs from KPMG in Whistler, and I was doing a tweet chat, and their last question was, in this new world, how do we keep our humanity? And that's an interesting question, because Hugo Herr at the MIT Media Lab lost his legs in a climbing accident, and he builds bionic legs now. And he told me, in 2 years, my legs are going to be better than yours are. How many people have gotten LASIK here? Anybody got LASIK? 3 people. So you're already in the bionic world, right? You've done augmentation to your human body to make your human body better. So in 10 years, are we going to have that discussion? How many people have bionic limbs because they wanted a better limb? Humanity is, it's an interesting question. So I answered back, I said, well, we always have alcohol, and soon we will have weed. Because it's being legalized, and we need to legalize it for economic reasons, and I'll explain why. And the 2 KPMG executives I was sitting with both went, because they had never seen the word weed with their brand before, right? And somebody else retweeted it. So there's another cool person somewhere else in the world that caught on to what I was doing. And I said, you are in the next 5 years, you're going to want your brand next to weed, and here's why. I was in Israel at an indoor mapping company, and I was joking around like this. And they said, do you have any clue how we get our best ideas? And it's a really interesting technology. They said, we have a bag of weed, and we smoke weed and get stoned in our meeting to come up with new ideas. I'm like, okay, that's an interesting data point. I've never heard that one before. I come back and I'm running a panel, and this is why I'm starting to talk about it with audiences, and because I'm keying in on this. Come back here, and I won't name the company, but it's a startup you all know. It's a big startup. And he's not the CTO, but he's the chief engineer. And he goes, dude, I wrote it into my contract because I code better when I'm stoned. And if they want more value out of me, they need to let me get stoned at work. I'm like, wow, that's an interesting idea. So Washington State has legalized weed, and this is happening. They're kicking our ass. And if you're a cool 20-year-old programmer, you're going to go to Washington State or Colorado and want to work for a startup there, not California. So we need to legalize weed. Otherwise, we're going to lose all the 20-year-olds to Washington State. I don't want them all to move to Amazon. Anyways, that's just a
Bisco stock.
There's a whole lot of stuff. By the way, one store in Seattle. So it's legally in the state, but it's not legal at the federal level. So he can sell it to you. He can collect some cash, but he can't put it in the bank. So he has a room with $70 million in cash.
Oh my God.
$70 million.
Yes.
Legal. This is a legal guy, not illegal. So if he has $70 million, imagine what the illegal guys have. And imagine what that is going to unlock. Because how many startups does $70 million start? I can think of maybe 70, maybe more if you're efficient, right? A Y Combinator kind of thing. How much does Y Combinator spend every year? Not that much, right? So there's a lot of value locked up in rooms. As soon as we legalize it, it'll come out. There's startups that are like white hot with vapes. I mean, it's an interesting place to study for an investment.
There's even an accelerator, weed tech,
Oh, yeah.
in Colorado.
And there's Uber is going to bring you weed.
Yep.
And a sandwich. And some Nabisco cookies. Right? There's a lot of shifts coming in our society. This shift, by the way, now that I have talked to enough of people about it, we are moving from a manufacturing-based economy where we used to screw a screw into a piece of sheet metal, right? Boeing still does this, right, up in Washington. They have a factory that makes 747s. I don't want the guy building my 747 to be baked out of his mind.
Agreed.
But we're moving to an idea economy where code is an idea, music is an idea, journalism, blogging is an idea. That is more appropriate, and we're going to loosen up our mores, our taboos, because we know that's a better way to get people efficient.
And our global advantage is creativity.
Yes.
So
There we go. And by the way, I was in Shanghai, and there was a store selling it, so the Chinese are going to get it too. When you're in an idea economy, we're going to start loosening up our taboos in a whole lot of ways, including weed and sex. There's a new startup from Cindy Gallup. She spoke at TED. She's doing the same thing with sex. She's trying to push cultural boundaries with sex, and I find her vision very interesting. And, you know, Silicon Valley pushes things, right? Doug Engelbart, when I first met him, I picked up on the fact that he was bitter and angry. And I said, dude, you invented the mouse. Why are you angry? You know, you should be partying right now. You should be celebrating the fact that you had a great life. Because people never get what I'm saying. I'm going to explain. I got kicked out of my own research lab in the 1970s. So here are people who are really, really brilliant, and they kicked him out of his own research lab at SRI. And SRI doesn't like that story going around, but it's true. And he explained why. Because back in the 1970s, nobody could get the idea that we were going to have a supercomputer in our pocket. He sort of saw that world. He said, you know, if you do the math, there's going to be a computer in your pocket, or at least a computer on your lap. And he started building and talking about that world that was 20 years away, right? Right? And he showed us the Macintosh in 1969. If you do a Google, YouTube search for mother of all demos, you'll see his demo. He demoed hyperlinking, hypertext, drop-down menus, mouse.
Unbelievable.
He showed it in 69. It took till 84 for most of us to even think about it, right? And so there are people in Silicon Valley who are pushing ahead, 20 years ahead. The guy who did Google Glass, I read his thesis project in 1991, and it is word for word what Google Glass was. So If you go to MIT Media Lab, they're doing stuff with molecular chemistry and all sorts of crazy shit that is like way over my head. But there's people here who are doing the same thing, pushing ahead. Yeah.
Robert, great talk. I didn't hear you use the terminology Internet of Things once. I assume that's conscious.
Because it's
Describe
covered
it.
by sensors and compute packages. And yeah, Internet of Things is part of it, but the Internet of Things, as you walk through a field of sensors, it lets you build a new contextual system. Because it's going to know where you are, who you're with, what your heart rate is, what your behavior is, what the chances are that you're moving that way, and it's I mean Internet of Things is just this how the sensors and the compute packages are going to be hooked up together, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think the bigger picture is this contextual thing that there really is and I know Google and Facebook is certainly doing it. Apple's working on contextual systems. Google has a whole team that's building an operating system, a contextual operating system. And if you were at Google I/O, they use the word context like I counted 10 times at least, right? So they're studying your context. They're trying to react to it and show you new things and help you live your life. And we're at the early days. I mean, in 10 years, it's going to be pretty freaky. Facebook. And most people don't understand why I say Facebook is running away with the game. It's turning contextual. I pull it out and I swipe down, it reports to the server where I am. At Coachella, I saw a lot of news from Coachella. And I see fires from Half Moon Bay and San Francisco because it knows where I live and work. It knows where I am all the time, right? And it doesn't show me a fire from Mumbai. I don't care about that fire. I do care about a fire in downtown San Francisco because it'll destroy my livelihood or it'll affect my commute. So I'm seeing news on my news feed that's contextual, and it's getting more contextual every week. Every week it is improving, and there's teams that are using this stuff to do machine learning to bring us new things, new ads. That just yesterday they announced ads. Advertisers are going to be able to advertise based on the bandwidth you have. So if you're in a low bandwidth neighborhood, I can give you a different ad than if you're in a high bandwidth neighborhood. I can probably give you a text one instead of a picture one, which won't piss you off, right? I don't want you pissed off at me if I put a Rackspace ad in front of you. It's not my job. It doesn't help my brand, right? I want to hit you at the moment you're thinking about cloud computing. And if I can figure that out, you're happy, I'm happy, because I'll convert you faster at a higher rate, and my ad spend will be more efficient, and you won't be pissed off, and you'll be like, oh, that's a nice ad. I needed to help with that anyways. Click. Yeah, Facebook is running away with the game and beating Twitter, moving faster than Twitter, and Twitter's moving faster than Google+. Just another example. I take a video on Facebook, it compresses it on the GPU of the phone. It's uploading as I'm typing, and in 2 minutes it's live. On Google+, 10 hours. 10 hours to get a fucking video off of my phone up to the system where you all can watch it. And Facebook doesn't publish the post until the video's ready. Google+ posts the post, and the video's not ready. So for 10 hours, I have a dead post up there. And I'm like, is nobody paying attention to this? And Instagram just announced a new app for Instagram. So, and Uber, my friend at Uber said, yeah, we're going to soon have a constellation of apps around Uber. So you're going to have Uber for salad, Uber for weed, Uber for power supplies, Uber for whatever, right? You're going to have 5 Uber apps around Uber on your phone, and soon it's going to crowd out everything else. And Facebook has Messenger, has Paper, has Instagram, has WhatsApp, has more and more every day, this new Instagram app. So each of these are going to have constellations of apps, and you're going to be competing against constellations of apps if you're building a new company.
So they get your mind share because
Your
they get
screen share.
They get your context.
Because, well, it's not just my context, they get your screen real estate. Most people don't have a screen that looks like that, right? I have 100 apps all in groups, all arranged by how often I use the app. So I can tell you right away that my favorite app is Messenger. My favorite app is Facebook because it's on the home screen. My favorite app is Human, right?
Right.
and human is contextual. It's a contextual contact manager. It's Google Contacts could have done this 10 years ago, but it took a little startup to go, hey, you know, we can improve the contact list. So everybody get on human, HUMIN. Everybody add Facebook, Messenger. The world is moving. Does that help you build businesses? I don't know. I don't know, but there's a lot of stuff coming. There's a lot of new opportunities coming with these watches.
Cool. Could we open it up to a few questions, have a little discussion? I'm cutting some of your networking time, but while we've got Bob here, let's take full advantage of it.
Fascinating talk.
Thanks.
Anna?
So I'm kind of a low internet profile person. I don't know why, but I just feel like I don't want my world out there. So do you
You're
see-
old.
I am old.
There's a gender shift. So I've been studying this shift, this digital divide between people like me who are all in. The kids, way more in than I am.
Yeah.
They have more messengers than I have, and I have 8 messengers. They have messengers that have no consequences. So if they're talking about sex with their girlfriend, they can't even take a screenshot of it.
Okay.
That's Snapchat, right?
Yeah.
But the newer ones, you have to actually you have to finger over the message to see it. So you can't even take a screenshot.
Wow.
You can't even take a
because your-
screenshot with
because your
another
fingers.
camera.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Now you can take a video, but that's an explicit break of social contract, right? They do not care. They
So-
do not care at all. And we see this shift in companies. The executives at companies tell me my 20-year-old kids, they don't care about this stuff. My older people, they care deeply about this stuff.
Is there any advantage to being kind of a low internet profile person? Like, I mean,
There is if you're in Iran.
okay. Good to know. I'm not, but good to know. Good to know.
In Iran.
Yeah.
There is if you're in an industry where you're smoking dope on the weekends and you're not supposed to be, like a school teacher.
Oh,
I wouldn't put that on Facebook.
okay.
Right?
Okay.
Me, I can get away with talking about weed a little bit more
Yeah.
because it's a recruiting tactic.
It's part of your brand.
It's becoming part of the brand because Rackspace is a cloud computing company and it's helping developers.
But if Facebook knows that you are a teacher, maybe it can suppress that you are smoking weed on the weekends.
Facebook studies your emotional attachment to people, places, and things. So if you start talking about weed, even if you're doing it on Messenger, it'll start showing you more weed. I'm already forcing it to show me more weed. I just liked NORML, the organization that's helping legalize weed. It's on my like page. You can see it. It's in public. And I'm also clicking like on articles about tax rates in Colorado and Washington State. And I'm clicking like on things, on discussions of whether we should legalize weed. Just this week, I clicked like on an article that showed that states that legalize weed have less OxyContin addiction. Because,
deaths.
what's that?
Lower death rates too.
Lower death rates. So I'm starting to really see this argument, and I'm liking. That's in public. So I might have a consequence. My boss might say, hey, tone it down because you're pissing off people. So far, he hasn't even called me. The KPMG execs
Don't
give
dare
me
rock
the,
like that.
what's that?
Don't dare rock like that.
I will work for cool companies. If they ever did say anything, they would hurt themselves because they need to recruit that guy away from that startup.
So go further in
And,
this.
and
about the
if
why
that guy already
authenticity.
wrote it in his contract, if I'm in trouble because I said something about weed in public, he ain't gonna join the company. And therefore, Rackspace is gonna see billions of dollars of shareholder value, not a peer. So it's a recruiting problem.
So go further on the idea of authenticity and labor mobility, which is what you're really hinting at, that people can be themselves and talk about the things they
Yeah.
do and that they're interested in, and if they want, they can go pick another employer.
Yeah, but not everybody can, right? That was my answer about Iran. Not everybody can leave Iran. So if you're in Iran, my wife's Iranian, so I know Iran. Every time they're talking on the phone, they're careful not to talk about the government. because they know they're being listened to on both sides by them, right? And there's consequences. So even for me, if I start mouthing off about Iran, any of my friends, which include a few people in Iran or a few people who want to visit Iran, might get harassed. So I have to think about consequences. Even with Iran, even though I'm here, I have to think about consequences. 2 of my friends that I spoke to in China are in jail. They were bloggers and they were mouthing off against the government and they disappeared. They're in jail. There's consequences, maybe not for me, but for people, right? So everybody has a different level of risk and consequences. And that's what I'm saying. If you're a school teacher, and you want to be a school teacher, you're probably not going to talk about smoking weed on the weekends. You're probably going to be pretty careful about that, right? Me, I'm a little bit looser right now, so I'm changing. But the more you give it, the better it is. And so you're hurting yourself at some level, even though maybe you're protecting yourself at some level. The more you give it, the better it is. I was sitting next to an insurance salesman from Chicago at a concert, and he had no idea who I was, right? And I like I do, I was like, oh, you have a new Android phone. What kind of apps you have on there? He goes, oh, I don't know. He was showing me his apps. Oh, did you see this Google Now thing? This is so cool. And he goes, and if I give it more data, and I am, it does more things for me. I'm like, yeah. I have a whole book on that. If I give it more data, it does more things. There is problem. By the way, all technologies have a downside. Cars. If we were having this meeting 110 years ago and we were talking about this new car thing, which is coming out. First of all, back then, did you know that somebody had to walk in front of the car with a red flag because it was so disturbing to people? It was like the Google Glass of the year. It's disturbing. I was just in a restaurant last night that said, no Google Glass in here. It's like, and I counted 12 cameras that were out on the tables at this restaurant. I was like, cars kill 30,000 people. Why did you drive? Because there's utility in coming here. And the utility outweighed the risk of you dying. There's a real risk of you dying. 30,000 people die in a car in the United States a year. Yeah, we take that risk because there's utility. So if there is utility, like this insurance salesperson said, there's utility, I'm going to give it more data. Even though there's a risk I'll get thrown in jail or fired or whatever.
Well, you said it in the right way. So you put it all about the user, right? So it's convenience for you, as opposed to the dialogue often goes, do you know how much Google is collecting on you? They're in your house, they're in your car, they're in your phone. And you're like, wait, what? But the way you said it, you just switched the dialogue to convenience for the user.
I'm over the freaky line, that's why.
Yeah, obviously.
Way over.
I had a first this week. At termination, other than for cause, and cause said, sexual harassment, all of this stuff, illicit drugs, except Mary Jane.
Yeah.
Carved out from the termination for cause.
My friend ran Palm Software, and he wanted to quit. And he told Andy Rubenstein, who was his boss, and the HR woman was there, I forget her name, on Tuesday, said, I'm going to force you to fire me because I don't want to quit. That's stupid. I want to go out with a big... No, I want to go out with a bang. That's Andy. If you know Andy Grignon, Steve Jobs called him a fuck chop when he was there. And Andy's like, I'm going to force you to fire me. Now, I'm not going to do it by slapping somebody on the ass or doing sexual harassment. No, I got to do something funnier. I'm going to walk in a chutes and ladders and that was their glass conference room right in the middle of the headquarters. I'm going to walk in there with the biggest bong you've ever seen, and I'm going to hotbox chutes and ladders. And all you're going to see is a cloud of smoke with 2 fat legs, and you're going to have to fire me. So they go away, and on Friday they were out drinking again, and she said, we talked about it in Andy's staff meeting, and we don't give you permission to do it, but we decided we can't fire you for that. And he's like, what? He goes, yeah, we think the entire engineering team is going to be in there with you. And therefore we can't fire you all, so we can't really say it's against the rules. So yeah, we're all capitalist pigs. If we see our money being threatened, we're going to change the rules, right? The
Right.
rules would change if there's
Moral
money.
of the story, if you provide the better reading and the better talent,
That's where I'm going.
You
That's
weed out
where-
lousy.
By the way, I know where to get good weed, and the VCs have the best weed. Some of them do. The cool ones do.
Robert,
One
you?
more question,
Yeah.
and then maybe Robert can ask some questions. He's got 2 books to give away of his,
Yeah.
that he's just written, and we were at the launch. Great
Yeah.
books, so.
Robert, you sound like a guy who's keen to game the system. And somebody said, if you don't pay for the product, you are probably the product.
Yeah.
So we're giving all this stuff away. And I'm a little bit like Anna on the security side, where my paranoid scale is on the extreme side. So I have all these personas
The problem
that I
is-
use for different things.
If you're at Facebook, you are sort of the product. The advertiser is the customer, right? They're the ones bringing
Yeah.
the money. So I like people who give me money. I like customers. But if you're not addicted to Facebook, or at minimum open it up once in a while, then I don't have them. So I have to serve you both.
Yeah.
And Facebook is doing it better. Their algorithms are, if you only have 2 minutes to read Twitter and Facebook, Facebook picks 30 things that are interesting to you because you've told it. If you've told it what's interesting to you, your family, your friends, your job relationships, your brands that you like. If you check in at a restaurant, it starts doing stuff for you. In fact, if I took a picture of you right here, if any of my friends have taken a picture here before, it shows up, and as soon as I hit send, it shows me all sorts of stuff that my friends have done here, right? So now I can see, oh, Tim Ferriss was here. What was Tim Ferriss here for? And I can bug him next time I have dinner. I go, what were you talking to a law firm for? You know? And he'll say, "Oh, I was,
Smart move, yeah.
I was," and then we'll have a story, right? I do this all day long with people because I know something about them. I have winemakers that are still cleaning up their mess up in Napa right now, and I see it all day long. And they're posting pictures and talking about it. And so when I go up there, I have something to talk about, and I get served better because of that, right? Because we're people. We like to be around people who care about us. Right? If you call me up and just send me a press
I think
release.
I disagree with you. I don't want Hertz to know that I drove here today. I don't particularly care, but I don't want them to go sell that information to somebody else.
I'm
where
over it.
And they're free.
I'm over it. On the way here, if you were watching my Facebook, you could see all the songs I listened to on the way here on Spotify. It's in public. By doing that, people send me better music. They said, your music sucks. Here's a new playlist. I'm serious. I've had this happen 50 times. People send me new playlists. Your music sucks. Here's a new playlist. And all of a sudden, I'm listening to better music.
Well, and to the point of that conversation, it's a benefit-risk ratio calculation
Yeah.
you're making, and, what information are you basing that on?
Yeah.
Everyone's gonna be different.
You'll be scared until somebody shows you stop being scared. You're gonna get utility out of this. Humans were scared of cars until somebody said, the horse, it has to be fed. This thing takes gas. It's a little easier. And it's a little bit more reliable. And it doesn't kick you
Gotta
off
remember
when
the
it
genie
sees a
doesn't.
rattlesnake.
The genie doesn't go back in the bottle though.
No, we are not going back.
But there's
I'm
a
not going back to a
product
world
So,
without
I
Facebook.
think points well taken.
No
There's
hell.
a product there. You can develop a product in which blocks all of your sensors, in which, and that you can turn on
I
and
should've talked
off
about
during that time period. So people that do have issues with actually, because sometimes
I
I
should
really
talk
don't
about-
want everybody to know where I'm at. And I think a lot of people feel that way, especially as you.
You can
there's
turn it
certain-
on and off.
Right.
I'm pretty good at going into the settings and turning it on and off. To your point, the guy who makes my shirts, Scott Jordan, lives in Sun Valley. By the way, he smokes weed and he talks about it on Facebook. There's a weed thing. Well, guess what? He makes things with pockets. Oh, let's see, pockets here. He makes a pocket that's a transmission-proof pocket.
Yeah.
And I give this talk at Maker Faire in New York, and a kid held up a pocket, and he said, I already made my own. So you're absolutely right. There's 3 places where we're going as corporate people, we're going to earn trust among people. One, you have to be transparent. So if you go to Google privacy dashboard, you'll see every fucking thing they collect on. And it's a lot. It is a lot. And it's getting to be more. So if they're transparent, that makes me feel better about Google, because at least they're telling me what they're collecting, and I can see, oh, I didn't know that they're tracking every search I do. They know my home and work address, on and on and on. I mean, it's a lot. This page is yards on my account.
So to interrupt, Robert,
Two
so
more
many
things.
people are asking where you were on Google Plus. They're asking me, what's happened to Robert? Sorry.
Facebook, these are trains. Facebook's train is moving faster than Twitter's train,
Yeah.
and Twitter's train is moving faster than Google Plus's train.
Yeah, no, I knew
Google
you'd
Plus
gone.
is dead.
Yeah.
Google Plus is dead, and nobody is using it except for a certain segment.
Me.
And I get over it. Facebook is kicking its ass left and right all over the place. It is over. For me, it is
Yeah.
over.
No, I
It is
gather
over. It is over. Get on Facebook. If you are not on Facebook and you do not start training it,
Yeah.
you are going to be at a disadvantage in a business meeting with people who are on it.
Thanks.
So it's over.
Can you tell us how you really feel?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, don't hold back.
It's over because Facebook is moving away. And until Twitter starts moving faster than Facebook, it's over. Because in 2 years, you're going to recognize this. I'm recognizing it because I give these systems so much data.
Yeah.
I give them all. I'm on LinkedIn, and I was one of the first Twitter users.
Yeah.
I give these systems a lot of data. The second thing on trust is you got to be correctable with the data. So I live on a golf course, and a lot of these things, when I test them out, they start showing me golf ads, golf, because it knows I'm on a golf course all the time. The sensor reading was correct, right? But it's not correct. It's not correct for me. I live on a golf course. I hate golf, so I wanted to tell it, stop showing me golf ads, right? And the systems that don't let me tell it that make me less trusting of it. And the third thing is what you said. You need to be able to remove the consequences of your behavior. And that's a funny one. So these Basis watches, they have a heart rate sensor, a skin temperature sensor, an accelerometer, and a clock. They know when my wife and I are having sex. Have you thought about
You're wearing
that?
your watch?
My wife wears her Fitbit to bed. She lost 40 pounds with it, and she wants to study her sleep pattern.
Oh, right.
These new health monitors are studying your sleep pattern. Did you see Jawbone Up published the chart of when everybody woke up from the earthquake?
Based on
If they know when you're getting up, they know when you're doing it too, okay? And so there's consequences to that, right?
I agree.
mean, if we're sleeping together, I'm cheating on my wife, and I don't think your other people in your life want to know that, and I don't want my wife to know about it. And there's consequences to this all of a sudden, right?
And how about, knowing your exact time of death, for example, like taking that whole mystery, that whole industry of forensics and,
Yeah.
the victim died between 1 and 4. No, the victim died at, 12, 23.
The car companies are studying this, right? Ford. I talked to Ford's head of safety, and he said, I know what people do when they get in an accident, and they don't push the brakes all the way down. We studied that. We had a fleet. They have fleets that they can study this on, and the fleet managers are. If you're driving for work, you can't say anything about having a sensor on the brake pedal, right? I can because I'm a customer, but if I'm an employee on a fleet, like a truck driver, so they know that you don't press your brake all the way down when you're going to hit something because you're not paying attention or your mind's not working. So what do? They put a radar sensor on the front of the car that senses you're about to hit something. First of all, it wakes you up with a red light, ding, 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 to get your attention, get you stop looking at your phone because you're about to kill yourself, stuff like that. And then it pre-fires the brakes. So if you even touch the brakes, it's full braking pressure because we have anti-lock braking now. So you can still keep control of the car even though it's full braking power. So it scrubs off more energy. Even if you get in a wreck, it might save your life because it's, right? And this comes out of research, out of human behaviors. And we are doing this in our industry all over the place. All over the place. Zuckerberg has been doing emotional experiments for years. He told me that. I reported emotional experiments back in 2009. And he told me, I could tell it's Saturday morning because you all are talking about your hangover. I can tell what time and what day it is, just by your emotion. And so now
now I'm giving it more emotion. When I post something, you'll see my posts. They always have feeling happy, feeling sad, feeling curious. Those are emotions, and it helps the system attach more data to what I'm doing. So it starts rejiggering my life based on when I'm having a really great time, right? But it's starting, I checked in last night at a cigar bar where my friend was playing, and I said, listening to Ron Bauer, right? Having a good time. He's rocking it. And so it's gonna bring me more music like that.
Relevance.
And more United ads. Right?
I don't see United ads anymore, because I kept saying hide, hide, hide. By the way, if you're really advanced on Facebook, a like on something means I want to see more of that. So if you click like on cat photos, you're going to see more cat photos. I don't want to see cat photos, so I click hide, 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 hide. And guess what? The feed is getting better and better and better, and the ads too. So I hide the ads. I tell it I don't ever want to see an ad from United Airlines anymore. And guess what? I haven't seen a United ad in a week. Yeah.
Hi, Robert. It's nice to see you here. I've read your blogs for years, by the way. And I don't mean to shadow your image about, you mentioned KPMG, because I have a site that's about tax professionals and traffic.
Yeah.
And we read about a blog called Tax Connections Worldwide Tax Blogs. And I wrote a blog on marijuana big hit, because all the tax, every time there's an article on marijuana, all the tax CPAs are all hitting on the article, the analytics go off the chart on those articles, which really surprised us.
You're doing emotional experiments out there. Come on. You're watching your analytics. By the way, did you see Twitter just announced new analytics for everybody yesterday? You know, analytics. Yeah, we're all looking at our analytics. Who's liking us? Who's retweeting us? Who's sharing us?
Any thoughts?
Who's calling us a douchebag? You know.
Any thoughts on responding to the contextualization, the personalization? You know, the result is that the more of the likes that you do, the more of that thing you get, and sometimes you end up in this bubble, right, where you're not getting exposed to things that might challenge you or push you to see things that you're not comfortable with. How do we balance that?
You're forgetting human nature. And that was sort of my KPMG answer. Alcohol. We hang out with other people. We can't avoid, you know, I had dinner with one of the founders of the Tea Party, and I almost got in a fight with him, but at least I had to deal with him for a while. By the way, your friends, when they like something, some of that gets shown to you. And I talked to the guys building the machine learning systems at Facebook and other places. They know they need to throw in a little bit of randomness to test, are you still only interested in cats? Because if they really do show you nothing but cats, you're going to get bored with it. And so they'll stick in news of the day, trending things, you know, and you're going to see other people's stuff. And particularly with politics, if somebody brings something in my view that I don't like, I'm going to argue with them, which increases the chances I'm going to see more politics. And so I'm very careful not to argue with people about politics, because I don't want to see more politics. But I have a whole, by the way, I have a whole list so I can see the news of the day, and that list is brings me all sorts of stuff. It's an interesting problem, and you'll see every week it changes. At Facebook, literally every week, their algorithms are changing. There's hundreds of algorithms, and they know that, because they do focus groups, they know that issue is up there. Hey, I'm seeing only Kim Kardashian tweets right now, or messages. I need something else. Oh, well, we can help you there. We can put something else in your feed. That's why every week they come up with new rules for content marketers, right? Oh, this week you're not allowed to do clickbait. You know, so if you know, where that was totally allowable 6 months ago. 6 months ago, BuzzFeed was like, if you click on this headline, you're gonna be so fucking amazed, right? God damn, I have to click on that headline. And that taught it signal, oh, you're willing to go and be amazed. You want to be amazed, but it's not. So they're changing the rules because the focus group, they just asked me, by the way, a survey question yesterday, 4-minute survey.
you know, do you trust Facebook? The questions were, do you trust Facebook? Do you like Facebook? Is Facebook good? And so they're building baselines of all those things. And I talked to David Marcus, who now runs the Messenger team, about Messenger Gate. And he said, we know nobody trusts Facebook. And there's a lot of reasons that nobody trusts Facebook, so we're gonna work on that. We're gonna do things to make it more trustworthy. And I'm like, that'll be interesting. And that's why I know I'm 2 years ahead of people, because most people in the world don't trust it. I don't give a shit about it. It's just a cold algorithm to me. And it is serving me better than anything else. So in 2 years, everybody's like, yeah, you were right.
So Robert, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
It's 10:30 and
Yeah.
we wanted to grab a quick interview with you, very short,
Oh, that's
after you
fine.
finished. And wanted to thank you all. I hope you all got tons of information from Robert. He's always so knowledgeable, certainly knows more than me. Do you want to ask them a couple of questions to give
I
out
don't
the
know.
books?
Yeah, who smokes
Well, you
weed?
just throw them up in the air.
Who smokes weed?
Who has the best weed in the audience?
It's gotta be
No,
fun.
Who has the best idea for an Apple Watch app? Which is, takes some, the innovators right now are dreaming about what that watch might do. I remember meeting Bill Atkinson, Apple's first software engineer, and most people think he's the best software engineer that Silicon Valley's ever had. And I was standing in line for the first iPhone. He built a wood block so he could hold the iPhone and dream about what it would be like. And there's people right now who are having watches on who are dreaming about what would the Apple Watch do. And if it doesn't do that, they're going to build a company. And if it does it, well, they nailed it, right? And if it doesn't do it, build a company and build it for the Samsung Watch too, right?
So does anyone know?
Yeah, does
I
anybody
have
have
an
a
idea for an app. I think important thing for the phone is gonna need to be, well, the extension of your phone on this wearable is gonna be how to search. And kind of like, how can you make this? Because you've got such a small kind of interface screen. So I kind of think that there could be some kind of like really interesting way in which we start communicating with these small kind of touch. Yeah, I have, but it's not, it's.
Not good.
No.
Right, it sucks. So.
There's a startup coming out of Spain
Uh-huh,
where his system is contextual
yeah.
and it's way better and way faster. I mean, look at how
I'm
slow.
really sorry about this, but I can't take any requests right now. Please try again in a little while.
Siri is sucky.
Right.
Just having a nervous breakdown.
So I guess that,
Well, and that answer is really interesting because I'm wondering, are they upgrading their systems to get ready for the Apple iWatch launch next week?
we'll see what
I bet they
mobility
are.
week next week, right?
I bet they are. That'll be a really interesting
That's
thing
gonna
if
be
you
the
can press, if you can
announcements,
swipe a thing and press a thing and
Yeah,
then talk
kind
to
of
it.
like swipe and then kind of like then creates kind of like different kinds of layers that you can actually go through. And maybe even get to the point where it becomes augmentative reality and such that you can like touch that way. But
So she gets the book, right?
Yeah, you get a book.
Just following on that, I think what the holy grail with the watch, Bob, is going to be actionable data. So it's taking my blood pressure, it's taking my heart rate, and I'm in a really stressful situation about to have a cardiac infarction. It's going to take.
Did you catch Facebook bought this app called Moves? Moves, just by holding your phone, already can tell whether you're walking, running, driving, or biking. And I saw another company that can tell the phone is sitting on the desk because it's horizontal and it's not moving. And the minute you pick it up, the sensors start firing, right? And it can tell it's in your hand. And then if you're walking down the street, it can tell you're walking. And if you put it in your pocket, there's another sensor here that's a proximity sensor and knows it's in your pocket because it's walking. I mean, the amount of stuff that people are doing with sensors is pretty extraordinary. And that's with rudimentary, if you have more sensors on your skin, yeah.
Wait.
I really think that the Apple Watch, the benefit should be toward like deaf and hard of hearing people. That's kind of what I'm looking on, is making tools for deaf and hard of hearing people. But I think that even just in America and internationally, if you had an Apple Watch that, when somebody talks, you just, put it in front of them and they talk, and even if it's a foreign language, it'll translate it to your language.
And
Wade's
visually
doing
here.
something amazing. Sign language to speech in real time and speech to text, so hard of hearing deaf people can interact, and it's a working product now. Amazing stuff.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, people.
Thank you.
Does anyone watch Mad Money with Kramer or anything that Kramer does? There's always this, these are not the views of MSNBC, we do not endorse these views, this is solely the views of Kramer. This is not
And
the
then we
views
can
of...
talk about it.
Yeah, these are not the views of Procopio, this is solely Bob. Anyway, thanks Bob, appreciate it.
Thanks.
Yeah.